Hello. I've thought I'd open the close with a friendly approach. I managed to lose my voice, and so it's slowly returning to me. So hopefully this could be a 5-minute talk. It could be a 15-minute talk. We'll see how we go. I want to try and cover a little bits and pieces. This is Carter Digital. This is what I created, so I started 10 years ago. I think Michael kind of covered most of my talk already just in his intro, so we'll start moving on quickly. We kind of come across as an innovation experience agency. It's kind of evolved over the years, and what that means is we try and evolve from web design development projects and moved into problem solving. Rather than thinking about technology, we're thinking about the solution. There is a problem, how do we solve it? Take the technology out of the equation and then come up with the right approach rather than just saying, I want a website or I want an app or these bits and pieces. So we kind of want to make sure that we're using digital in an effective way. So it's not just me. So I'm here. The only reason I'm standing on this stage tonight, this evening, is because of my team. These guys are the guys that do all the work that I collaborate with, and I'm kind of feel like I'm representing them, so hopefully I can do them justice. There's a few of the clients that we working culture. So we help cultural organizations and people trying to engage with new audiences and keep themselves relevant in a digital age. We work in the environmental, so we try and help raise donations for climate change, for saving the Barrier Reef, for the gorillas at Melbourne Zoo. This is all happening through them. We work with the health industries, so teaching doctors the information that they need to be doctors. So we're not necessarily being the people who are actually creating this information. We're just we're the conduit that helps it get out there to help people. We work in social and environmental, and educational. These are all things that make a difference in the world. So when I first started Carter, it sort of came about from me working, volunteering overseas and realizing that there wasn't enough hands on and many hands make light work, right? So we're trying to realize there wasn't enough people here, and me just doing one piece of work, one bit at a time, 8 or 10 of us, it wasn't enough. But I wasn't a doctor, I wasn't a builder, I didn't have a skill set that could make any big difference quickly. But what I thought was, if I could do digital and I can help bring more people to this place and expose these issues and these concerns, then I could actually make a difference that way. So that's what we kind of do. So the talk, let's try, what do I talk about? I started to go down a rabbit hole. This is actually version 5 of my talk, and I haven't actually been able to figure out how long it's going to run for because I haven't been able to speak up until about last night. So I think, what do I talk about? What matters? Should I go deep and meaningful? On the end of the day, you're probably all a little bit burnt out. I know I've been to conferences and you get a little bit tired and you're sitting in a seat getting uncomfortable and you know that there's beer at the other side and I'm basically the barrier between you and alcohol. So I thought, what can I talk about? If I go deep and meaningful, everyone will start sneaking out and you duck under the people at the front, off you go. So maybe do I make it lighthearted? Do I start putting in animated GIFs? Now, all these animated GIFs you see here are GIFs that I went through my email, and these are actual animated GIFs that I've sent to clients. My favorite one is the girl trying to catch the ball. We've all done that. The shaking of the coffee cup, that was me saying, we said we were going to have a coffee 6 months ago, it still hasn't happened, what's going on? But my all-time favorite is the dog flying into the Death Star. I kind of keep these on hand on my desktop all the time, which slows down my computer. Brilliant. But what are you trying to do? Like, why are you sending that in an email? Why are you sending these little 5-second clips that loop and loop and loop to each other? We're trying to get our personality across in a digital format that people understand to have an association with us. We're trying to make sure that people know who we are, even though they've never met us, or if they have, that we have a connection, we have a conversation. I also thought, why do I talk about blogs? I'm the worst blogger in the world. I think I've written 5 or 6 articles in my entire life. I've probably written about 100 titles. But one key fact that I've realized is if I leave it long enough, someone else will write it for me, and I can read their article anyway, so what difference does it make? So I always find it difficult to kind of keep one clear focus, one clear vision. How do I get what's in here out there to make you listen to me. I thought, what about, comes up a lot, the unicorn. We're always looking for that unicorn. We're always trying to be that unicorn. We're trying to move ourselves into lots and lots of different spaces in the world, like lots of different titles. We're always forever changing what we associate ourselves with. We started out as web designers, then we became user experience designers, then we became UI designers, interaction designers. This word design comes in there a lot. You'll notice I've got a slide down here. It's probably about 20 different titles on it. I think I'll leave it there before my voice disappears. But it all sort of slowly came about from user experience. They're not that important, our titles anymore. Then we have to remember that. I did have myself as director of awesome, but corporate clients don't really appreciate that much. So I'm now, director of experience. For a little bit of time, I used to change it all the time. It doesn't matter. It's not important. But the user experience was one of the first ones that came out of web design. But what has happened is users aren't users anymore. User is a blank face on a page that you try and fill out, that you write a persona for, and you try to explain who they are as a person, but they don't exist. But with an ever-changing world, with data sort of becoming more and more prevalent, those people have now got a face. And so it's more about the experience. And I'm all for making less is more. I'm always saying less is more. How much do you prefer something that's more visual, when it's got more space around it, when it's got more area to breathe? I think that comes with titles as well. But what it's sort of evolved into is become people experience. We're dealing with experience on a much bigger scale. It's not just about the device anymore. It's the PX. It's kind of gone full circle. We're always talking about the pixel, even if you're in graphic design, digital. Everything's about the PX. So I've kind of tried to coin a phrase, but if you know how difficult it is to actually coin a phrase, it doesn't really work that well. So this is my big chance. Come on, I'm delaying. What are we talking about? We're talking about people. We are people. Regardless to whether we use a phone, we use VR, AR, we're using a camera, we're writing blogs, we're copywriters, we're working in a supermarket, we're all people. We all have this common association, like it or not. So it's about the why. I put my notes on very small, I probably should have wrote less. It's the evolution of digital. Digital has come along so fast and so quickly that we were trying to struggle to figure out what our title was to be able to fit a space in the digital world. It's taken a gigantic leap forward. And I know I'm not the first person to say this, I'm not going to be the last. And I've been in a few Adobe talks today, and a few of those have been, I'm like, hopefully you guys are going to talk to the bigger audience tonight on that, because you're pretty much covering every slide that I've got in my deck, and it's too late to change it. But what has happened is, this leap forward, we started using Instagram, we're starting using Snapchat, not so much. We're using Facebook. We were starting to think we were being social by looking down at a screen. There's even articles wrote about everyone getting neck problems. I was trying to watch an NBA game on my way home, and I never told my wife this, that I was supposed to be home at 6 o'clock, and I was running like this, trying to watch the end of this game, and tripped over. I managed to catch my phone, and my phone was more important than my own face. It was like, there's something wrong here. Luckily, I've got the beard. You couldn't see the scuff on my chin. But we're entering a new world where digital is no longer just that thing in your phone. It's now being integrated with the physical and the biological. You can buy things that can track and connect to your brain synapses to make you control things like this. How do you make that relevant? But it all comes down to, what are we trying to do? We're trying to connect with humanity, right? We're all trying to understand each other and understand what we are and what part we have to play in this world. This is what has happened with this. It's actually, I think the digital is no longer as relevant as it used to be. We're starting to look up. Community's starting to come back. We always go in full circle, just like fashion. Flares are back. What is that? Like, come on. They were never good to begin with. It's what I think, and this is my opinion, we're in the design age, where the technology is becoming less and less important and less a barrier. It's more of a conduit for us to be able to deliver a message or information. When the electricity sort of became part of the transformation, we had this industrial revolution. When everything kept changing. It kind of happened over a number of years. For us, this happened in a decade. We've gone from using a phone that had a cable like yay long that you could, and if you wanted to go out and meet your friends, you couldn't not show up. Now you can not show up because you can quickly text them on your phone, oh, I'm feeling sick, or I'm trying to watch the last episode of Game of Thrones. I can't possibly leave the house. But you couldn't do that, but now you can. And now this has all changed. And so this is all the design age has sort of started to evolve into this approach where community and people are starting to be able to talk to each other face to face and wanting to. We've kind of got over that hump of being excited by having the latest phone and be able to communicate and social and like. And we still all do it, but we're starting to be conscious of it and put it back in our pocket while we're sitting opposite someone at dinner talking. And I think that's brilliant, that's great. So the design age is becoming more and more important because people's attention span has dropped more and more. We're trying to more affiliate and associate with empathy. We're trying to understand each other. Everyone in this room knows that it's more than just a visual construct or a chair or the shape of your pen or the phone, the volume, the phone that you use or the headphones that you're using. Everything has that approach on it. This is nothing new at all. I picked out a few of my heroes. Saul Bass, he was, oops, we're going through him very quickly. So this must be the version 4. So Steve McQueen, Carolyn Davidson. Does anyone know who Carolyn Davidson is? Anyone? She created one of the most iconic logos ever. She created the Nike logo. Do you know how much she got paid for that? $35. $35 US, not inflation stuff, maybe a bit more these days. But you can see a square on that slide. I'm sorry, they jumped through. I couldn't find a picture of her without that icon next to it. And I was doing this on my iPad, so I didn't actually have the editing tools at the time because I was too busy trying to get this done that I couldn't find a picture without the Nike logo next to it. But I didn't know we were allowed to use that for copyright infringement, so I thought I'd put a box over it. Eric Speakman said this, and you've probably already read it because I've been rambling a little bit. Design works not because people understand it or even appreciate it, but because it works subliminally. Design works, resonates with me. Design has a profound impact on humanity. Whether we realize it or not, it has a profound impact on humanity. We may have worked on something big, something small, but it resonates, it revolves. Even if you don't even realize that you're doing it half the time. But now we're in a design age, now we're in a place where it's changing. It's starting to become like design thinking. Everyone's starting to approach this place, right? Everyone's starting to work through and use our way of thinking like into other industries, like banking, healthcare, education. It's all starting to use the same approach that we've been using for decades into that way. So design is becoming more and more important. We're always trying to engage with our audience. We're always trying to lower our barriers to entry for our clients and for ourselves. We're trying to be meaningful. We're always trying to facilitate. But what are we trying to do? We've got to be conscious of the fact that what we're doing now, and now that everything is becoming more and more digital and more holistic, and our experiences are starting to be encompassed, and we're starting to walk around everything. It's starting to cover all of our day-to-day lives, from having our phone next to us when we wake up in the morning. What sound is it going to make? How is it going to wake me up? Just making my coffee. What type of glass do I want? Do I want a mug? I work in Fitzroy. In the studio alone, we've got 7 different ways you can have your coffee. I'm not even sure what some of them are. I'm like, what is that thing? Like, how does it work? But it's all starting to work. It's all starting to evolve. So we've got to remember that what we're doing, what we're designing today, will have a greater impact on humanity, not just on the product that it's trying to sell, but it will change how people think about what they're doing. We will have a big impact on how people decide to vote, what people will find important. Will they think that recycling is important? Will they think twice before using something that they don't really need? Will they change their mind when they're purchasing something? We are responsible for that. We have a great responsibility. I was promised I wouldn't say great trust becomes great responsibility. But it's our job. You've got to be conscious. I said it anyway. What the hell? We've got to think. We think things through. We've got to think what we're doing, why we're doing it. So we've got to. I personally want to say, look, we should design for good. We should make sure that what we're doing matters, because it will change history. We will change history. The design age means that we're becoming more and more important, more and more relevant. We can be sitting in an office, and we used to be sitting at the end of the space, thinking about being at the end of the chain. We're now at the start of every process, thinking about us and using design as a way to evolve products and places and spaces. I think Melbourne, call Melbourne. Melbourne and Sydney Melbourne is first for the most livable city in the world. Sydney is number 10. So Australia, we're in the perfect place to be able to adapt and evolve this space. They're thinking about how that we change things. The City of Melbourne are working with designers, experience designers, graphic designers, wayfinding, customer experience, to how to change the city itself, how it lives and breathes. How important is that in the world? That's important, and we're responsible for that. So design for people. It's important. We have to design for people. So design for purpose. Now purpose, every time you think of it, I was trying to think, how do I do this tonight? How do I sign off? I knew I was putting myself out there, and it's going to be a very big ask for even me to try and articulate what I'm trying to think in here, to how to tell you guys what it is that I'm thinking. But design is so important these days. Try and make it purposeful. So design, it's bigger than you. Thank you.